Okay.
We'll,
You want
Parks
to welcome us?
Committee of April 10th will come to order, and we'll note that, let's have a roll call. Let's start on this end here. Alder Eck,
I'm here.
Alder Stoyer, is that how you pronounce it? Stoner?
here.
Stoyer, Alder Stoyer's here, Alder Campbell will be along shortly, and Alder Weary. So 3 present, 1 on the way. If we could just stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, Dan, I see there's some goodie bags up here. Is this from,
Yes, that's, I gave you each a little bit of park swag
Wow.
for your service to the Parks Department and the city council as a whole,
Yeah.
so.
Thank
enjoy
you.
it. There's just a few little park and rec gadgets that we usually hand out at
appreciate that.
different events, so,
Okay.
thank you.
Very
Really
sweet.
appreciated all of your time with this committee. It's been great working with you the last 2 years. I do say this to every committee, but this time I really mean it. You're the best committee we've ever had. So
We know that.
there
It
you
kind of
go.
takes away what you
We
start
don't-
with by saying it to everybody.
No, but seriously,
We're
you
not
guys,
gonna do this. you know.
seriously, you've been wonderful to work with. I appreciate all of your help with all of our different park initiatives and really heartfelt appreciation, so thank you.
thanks,
Thank
Dan.
you.
It's,
Thank you.
obviously my favorite committee.
That's
Welcome
sweet.
aboard. All we did was the pledge so far. Alder
We did.
Campbell. And you have a
Sure.
present from Mark, and you have a present from the staff.
Yeah.
All the
A little
park
bit of
swag
park
on the bag.
swag there for you.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I won't be invisible. I'll be around. Still care about my district. Still care about my park. Hope to have a shovel for that. I got a good story for you too. Maybe we'll get a chance to tell it, but it's been a pleasure working with you guys. Learned a lot. It's just another chapter in my life, and hopefully someone new can take over and do as good a job as I did. I think if you just always do a better job than the last person, then I think that's a good start. So appreciate everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
And I wish everyone would. Are we ready?
What's that?
Well,
We did the pledge already.
what did
You did?
Yeah, we beat you to it. I didn't know what time you'd be here, so you get to do it in the next meeting.
I could do it in front of INS. We could do that.
Yeah.
too.
We'll do that.
Okay.
Well, let's get through the approval of the agenda. What are your wishes there?
Move to approve.
Motion by Eck to approve the agenda,
I'll second.
second by Stoyer. Changes, those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alder Eck, second by Alder Stoyer. Any changes to the minutes? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Regular business. Informational discussion regarding projects and initiatives for the Parks, Rec, and Forestry Department, particularly Colburn Park. That was
There's a
That was
side
an
story
add-on
here.
on
It's
that
supposed to be.
Colburn Park.
I like
Let's
Perkins
not
too.
forget the east side.
He talks about Colburn,
Yeah.
so it's just a little.
So I don't have anything to hand out other than the director's report, which summarizes, most of our initiatives that are happening right now. But there are a few things I would like to touch on that really aren't, explained in detail in the report. I guess we'll start out with seasonal staffing for the year. As you know, the last 2 years, and even beyond that, has been challenging for our seasonal staffing within the parks. And then in our budget last year, the city council and you all generously allowed us to do a substantial raise to our seasonal staff positions, which allowed us to be almost full for all of our positions last year. So James can give a brief update of where we sit this year, but it's all good news right now, so.
Yay.
Yeah, overall, most of our divisions are full. Bay Beach, Wildlife Sanctuary, Forestry, Parks. Unfortunately, we have the laggers here, which are playgrounds and pools, which always seem to be kind of, they keep going and finish at the end right before summer, hopefully, where we get a full staff. But those are the only 2 divisions that we have, we still have quite a few openings for those. But we're right on pace with where we were last year, so we're not extremely worried or anything about it yet. It's just kind of then we're typically how the timeline goes with filling those positions, so.
So the Forestry Department, I think we were a little low last year. That was our
Last
focus.
year, we only filled a couple of positions. This year, we're full. The Wildlife Sanctuary is full. Bay Beach Amusement Park is full. It's really the playground program. As of last week, we were about half full. We have 16 sites that we budget for. We have enough playground supervisors to run about 8 sites right now. You know, we're, like I said, like James mentioned, that's usually one that right up till the end, we're filling positions literally up until the day we actually implement this
Most
program.
high school, college kids aren't thinking about
Yep.
that till.
Yep, so we get a lot of college students that apply for that. They're still worried about, you know, just getting through their year. And pools are the same, so again, we filled quite a few positions for our pools, but we're still short. We don't have enough to operate all 3 pools right now, but we're hopeful that by the time we do open, we will be able to
Is
open all
that
3.
June what? Will it open? Was it May?
No,
It's
it's
in
June,
June.
second week of June.
Something like the 10th roughly?
It's right after school, so I have to take a look. But
So things are going really well. I mean, it's better than last year with the other divisions, and we're on par with where we were last year with our pools and playground program, so.
That's great.
Going well. All the hard work with giving those raises, I think, really made all the difference in running our programs. So that's
Chris,
good
you were big
news.
at that. You were big on pushing that.
Yeah. Then I'll kind of, any questions regarding staffing?
I think the one, thank you, Chair. You were talking about 16 playground sites. There's 8 that have staff, about half. So, I mean, with that being said, are there certain parks that are chosen ahead of others, or?
We do base which parks we open first based on attendance numbers. We try to also, you know, even it out between west side and east side, but it's really the ones that don't get as much attendance are the ones that will be the last to fill. But, you know, keep in mind, back, you know, when I first started as director, we had, what, 32 sites? So all of the 16 sites are still fairly heavily attended. So, you know, so we're still hopeful that we can run all 16 sites.
They're geographically located too, right? So that, you know,
Yep, we spaced them all throughout the city to try to make sure we accommodated as many neighborhoods as possible. And we were very concerned about making sure we were equal between the east and west side.
Go ahead.
But just looking at some of the bigger projects, you know, you got the Finger Road Ball Field Complex, you know, the concessions, you got the Light Memorial Park, you know, the shipyard. I wanted to know kind of roughly how much Parks is involved in the shipyard project. I know Farland Park, of course, you know, we're all pulling for that. And then Joliet Park Habitat Restoration. It seemed like there's some good projects going on right now, and I just don't know if you could touch on those.
I can give you a brief update on some of those projects, because those are all kind of very big initiatives right now in our parks. So starting with Farland, you know, Farland is out to bid right now. So we have all the funding in hand to do what we said we were going to do, which was put a playground in, or move the playground, do a splash pad, move the basketball court, and we even have a little additional money to do an open shelter, which we didn't originally budget for. In addition, if you recall, we're gonna do like a bee sculpture in the hillocks. So, like I said, it's out to bid right now. We're hopeful that, you know, in about a month and a half or so, we'll be actually breaking ground out there, maybe 2 months. We'll see how it all plays out. But as long as it comes within our budget, we'll break ground and we'll see those improvements happen this year. So that's a major improvement to that neighborhood and that park. So we're excited about that one. Shipyard is, if you've all kind of been up and down Mason Street and looked across the bridge there, you'll see that Shipyard Phase 1 is under construction. And that's doing all of the in-water decks and all of our shoreline walks. So Phase 1 will be done, we're anticipating around June, and Phase 1 will be open to the public. So it's really already a beautiful park, even though it's just the shoreline portion. And then in the next probably month or so, we will reach out to consulting firms to do the engineering work for Phase 2, which is the development of the park itself. So that would be the playground, the splash pad, the actual sitting areas within the park, and elements such as that. I think we even had a shore or an upland beach area in the master plan. There's a dog park in there. That will all be designed as part of Phase 2. And we do have a budget already set and some grant money set aside to actually build phase 2. So you'll see some, some movement within that park in the near future, and come June or July, we'll be opening it to the public. Then you mentioned Joliet Park.
Yeah.
For those of you who haven't been on the council that long, I would say about 10, 12 years ago, it was a very controversial situation at that park where there was some some clearing that the neighbors were doing wasn't authorized. And so that park sat for the last 10 or 12 years where we really didn't do much to it because of what happened 10 or 12 years ago. But through the area of concern and the DNR's involvement, we now have money set aside to hire a consulting firm, and we've already hired that consulting firm to really take a large look at the entire park from a habitat standpoint. So what can we do to Joliet Park, not only from the upland vegetation, but also in water? It's a hot fishing spot in the winter for ice fishing. What can we do within the waterway to improve the fishing habitat there? And then also we're looking at access. What can we do to the parking lot and get better access to the public so that they can get down to the waterway? Right now it's fairly challenging for them. So right now we have a consultant on board. They're kicking around some concepts, looking at doing all of their environmental analysis to really determine what's the best option for habitat improvements out there. And in May and June, we'll be starting to do neighborhood public input meetings. So we'll kind of lay out a few scenarios, get the public input, and see what they would like to see in that park. And then from there, the hope is that we can secure grant funding from the EPA to actually implement it as kind of the next step. Right now, we're just designing it and getting public input. So that's coming down the pike. What were a few other projects that you mentioned?
I mentioned Light Memorial Park, as far as that.
So Light Memorial Park was another fairly big initiative where maybe a year ago, your committee here approved the master plan for Light Park. And so we're in the process of doing the engineering bid documents for it. And so what that will involve is pretty much revamping the entire city-owned portion of the park. So everything that's there now will pretty much get ripped up and we'll do better improvements. So we're going to build a concession stand with restrooms and a rental shelter with a second-story deck that overlooks the park. As part of that, we're also going to be building a permanent stage. Right now, we have a portable stage that has to come up and be installed whenever we have a band play there. This will be a permanent stage that will always be there. And then along with that, stormwater management and a lot of site improvements just to enhance the experience, kind of connect the two from a circulation standpoint, but also doing shoreline improvements. So we think we'll have bid-ready documents within the next month, and then we're working with On Broadway to fundraise for it. So the city has already committed some dollars in TID money towards the construction of the shelter portion, and On Broadway has already kicked off a fundraising campaign which your committee authorized and approved. So we're hopeful that we can break ground this year, possibly for sure next year. But we're shooting for this year. But we still don't have a schedule yet because we still have to deal with the funding and they haven't met their fundraising goal yet. So we're still working on that one.
Was there a certain size for the seating that came up?
There was, and I think that we're shooting, I don't want to misquote it. I'm thinking it's about 1,000 people that it can accommodate. So
I think that's what you had said when originally,
Roughly,
yeah.
yeah.
So I
Just
mean,
double check.
this isn't a huge concert venue.
No.
It's a nice intimate concert venue for kind of the smaller to mid-concert ranges. And it's just a nice experience for the park. Our game plan is if we ever want to do the larger concert events, that would happen at the shipyard because there's a lot more room there.
Sure.
If you recall, we still only have a temporary lease on the northern property at Light Park. So we can't, we're only focusing our efforts on the permanent improvements on the city-owned portion, not the temporary leased portion to the north.
Okay.
The other major initiative that we're currently working on is the JVS property. So there's
Oh,
that
sure.
property behind the Croc Center. That's also a really big park initiative. We reviewed the master plan with you recently for that. We're going to be building that in sections. So the first part that will be bid out is the road construction for a portion of the subdivision and running the utilities into the park. So that's almost ready to be bid out for the street portion and the utility portion. The second phase of that project will be the park and the boulevard park and the urban barn and urban farm. That will all be kind of the second phase. And then the third phase will be the actual installation of the residential units. So that's all moving too. So those are the biggest initiatives in the parks. We have a lot of other initiatives. There's a lot of stuff going on at Colburn and Perkins.
Thank you.
So, there's a lot of things happening that are kind of a smaller scale, but equally important to the parks.
I know that Perkins, they're talking about a sun garden planting.
Yep.
How big is that gonna be, or?
I don't remember the size of it, but yeah, we've developed a master plan for the natural area of the park.
Sure.
And we hope to have a public meeting to present that master plan. I know we really wanted to do that while you were in office, but for various reasons, we just couldn't get that accomplished. But we're nearly ready to propose our final master plan to the neighborhood, and we'll be doing that this summer for sure.
Sounds good.
So that'll be talking about what we're gonna do with the disc golf course, what we're gonna do with the trails, what we'll do with the tree planting, how we're gonna handle maybe turning some of that grass area into native prairie plantings. So we have some good vision there, and we have some funding set aside to begin some of that work, and we'll lay that out with the neighborhood. And then in addition, we do have funding for lighting that baseball field that we just built.
Sure.
So we're gonna be hopefully putting that lighting in probably this fall or next spring.
That was from
is
the
when
Peterson,
lighting will go in.
the Peterson family, right?
They donated the
scoreboard.
scoreboard.
The scoreboard.
Yep,
Yeah,
the
you're
lighting
right.
we have bond money for.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, so anybody have questions on projects? Other project
well-
initiatives?
I noticed that the Bay Beach playground has been started, so that's cool, the new one.
Yeah, so I can give you a few updates on Bay Beach. So yeah, the playground construction is well underway. You recall that was a $1.3 million donation from the Friends of Bay Beach Amusement Park. I believe the entire playground structure is already erected. They're putting in the concrete work right now as we speak. And then we still have some site work and the rubberized surfacing to put in. We're gonna make some minor changes to the train right now to accommodate maybe a secondary stop just west of the Zip and Pippin, because we're not ready for the larger train expansion project that we previously secured a donation for. But there are things we can do to at least utilize the existing train right now and get people closer to the new playground and the parking area there. So I think everybody will be really happy with what we're doing with the trains area, so that will be functioning more as a transportation train instead of a top train ride.
Yeah, and the only other thing I had was looking forward to the talks about the park near Western Avenue. I got contacted the police department, they said they're setting up a meeting with you and asking me to come, and so I've counted that'd be 5 parks in my district. I look over at you. He's all about Colburn. Just giving you a little hard time there.
Yep.
But yeah, so anyway, I just thought that would be, I was excited to hear that was a possible development coming.
Yeah, and then the other one that we're gonna kind of talk about in the very near future is we're gonna recommend a final location for the near downtown dog park. So we discussed a couple of options previously. At one of our next park committees, we'll be kind of talking about that again and just selecting a final location and moving ahead with that because we do have funding to build another dog park. So I think we've done our homework on that, so we're pretty close to it.
Awesome, that's it.
Any questions?
No, just the Farland Park thing,
Yep.
while campaigning, I met the lady that was interviewed in the newspaper. First time I've ever talked to her. I didn't even know who lived there, but I finally talked to her, and she literally walked in the other room like I was picking it up, and she had the whole article of the 2006 project and her husband and her grandkids that played there.
Oh, okay.
I promised her a golden shovel. I thought it would bring it full circle.
Have to spray paint a shovel.
Yeah, we could.
And Bronson was a little upset at that because he wanted a shovel too.
How many you got?
So it's actually, I think it would be a nice thing if we could involve her, because it really brings the whole thing full circle. So I took pictures of the article and tried to read it on my phone, but.
Yeah, we can
Good.
definitely reach out to you for the, groundbreaking ceremony
Yeah.
and figure out
I'd
how
like
we're
to be there
gonna
for that.
recognize that. So,
Yeah,
yep.
and the other thing that she also had that in my head, we've been busy, Melinda is, fire department thing is, her dad was the head of the fire department for like his whole life, and his name was Truckee. So I wanted to talk
Oh.
to Chief Knott about, I have those articles too,
Oh,
but it was very, very cool. So, thanks for giving me that time, Mr. Sawyer.
Oh, did I interrupt?
Thanks, Alder Campbell.
So I do have a few other initiatives that aren't project related that maybe I'd like to touch
Sure.
bases on. Emerald Ash Borer, that's been a hot topic for the last 5+ years. We're kind of finally to the point where we're getting caught up, at least with the street trees and the park trees. Now, conservancies are a bigger issue because we haven't really dealt with the ash trees in the conservancies yet. But after talking to the forester, we're to the point where, this year we have quite a few to cut yet, but we're to the point where we can start doing more planting and less cutting starting next year. So we're kind of to that point where the worst has already happened, and now we can start repairing the damage with our forestry staff.
On that issue, I know I'm sure there's other streets too, but on Buchanan, we were told that the trimming was put back because of
I was gonna ask that,
Emerald Ash
too.
Borer, so hopefully we can get
Correct.
that kind of more.
It has, and in fact, that was one of the things we had to do was kind of scale back on the trimming, but if you recall, we added 2 staff members so that we could try to keep a pruning cycle, because originally we were gonna ban all pruning altogether, just to keep up with the tree cutting. So we were able to do pruning. One thing that our forester is looking at right now is he's been in contact with other municipalities, and they're doing trials to look at pruning a little bit differently. So maybe what they're looking at doing now is just kind of quick pruning to take care of the kind of the major issues, just to get more caught up and get put back on the rotation that we used to be on, and then come back and do the fine-tuned pruning later on. So other municipalities are kind of playing around with that, and it seems to be working out well for them. So we might be looking at that on our end too. I mean, nothing's set in stone yet, but we are kind of looking at creative ways to not only start replanting, but to get back to the pruning cycle that we used to.
That would
be
take
on.
care of the branches that are hanging over the sidewalks
Yep.
that people are like,
Yeah.
On top of that, Dan, I was going to ask you about what percentage is the tree inventory at with respect to GIS mapping? I know you're trying to do that, which would be a huge thing.
Yep,
I
so.
like maps, okay.
So yeah, forestry has been working very closely with the GIS department to actually map and inventory all of our trees. We're getting to the point where that's almost done. So we've done a lot of work on that in the last 3-4 years. The other thing that they recently started putting together is a tree canopy analysis, both pre-Emerald Ash Borer and where we're at today. So they've already kind of put together some of those maps. We're kind of looking at ways that we can actually make those maps available to the public online. So it's just a new initiative we're tackling, but we already did the analysis. It's just a matter of how we present it now and get that information out there. So we're doing a lot with GIS right now.
So, I mean, you'd have the species of tree, maybe when it was planted, I mean, just different data sets.
For the inventory,
For
yeah,
the-
but not for the urban canopy
Okay.
analysis.
Well, that's fantastic.
And then we're also looking at other initiatives of what we can do in the future to actually improve tree canopy on, and encourage that on private property, not just on public land. So we're looking at various initiatives with forestry of how we can kind of do things a little bit differently to encourage that also.
I'm done. Thanks.
I do have one more thing.
Go ahead, Alderman.
Thank you, Chair. The forestry, I was looking through here, with that storm that came through, I had like a lot of power outages in my district, and I was on vacation, so I was getting calls and stuff, so thank you, Alder Stoyer went over there to check it out. But part of it, I think, is when it involves electricity and wires and trees, some of my people that called here, some of the information they got was, and I think it was misinformation, I don't even, but that the city wasn't gonna touch it because it's on private property, and they had to have, the person had to pay to get it removed and whatever, and really, after talking to forestry myself, it was because there were wires in, and we don't touch that, that's a protocol. And I think that maybe educating the public more about that would be helpful, just because they were really upset with the city, and once I found out, like, okay, there's wires involved that, and explained that that's not something we touch as far as the city, that WPS and Ashland takes care of it,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and with that last storm, for whatever reason, I don't really understand why there was some misinformation out there as far as what the process is. So
Yeah.
I've already talked to forestry about how we can get the word out there so the public knows for the next storm event what to do. So we'll be
Yeah.
rolling out some education to the public somehow. in
Thank
the
you, I
near
appreciate
future.
that.
That'd be
It was,
good.
they were upset,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, they were.
One question for you, Colburn first. Summer soccer starts in June. The pathway from the parking lot to the field, is that gonna be?
Yeah, what we're looking at doing is we will be installing a gravel
Yep.
path, and I don't know the schedule, but I'll check on that. and get
Hopefully we
back
get it done
to you.
before
Yeah.
that season.
Not the for disability.
Yeah, it's for people with disabilities. It
Okay.
was really rough to get down from the lot to there.
Yeah.
Roughing there all the time. I see people struggling to get down there.
So I was wondering,
That's why we,
you have something wrong with your eye, or doing a lot of
I was
winking?
winking like, yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be done before
Yeah,
June.
okay.
And then one other I think two other updates. One is Conservation Corps. So as you know, it's been a very successful program that kind of, the Green Bay Parks Department is housing that program. If you recall, it was a 3-year grant for that program. We're kind of nearing the end of that 3 years. And so we reapplied for another grant through the same AmeriCorps program to extend it for another 3 years. We're hopeful that we get the grant. If we do, we'll have another 3 years of great projects and great work throughout our Parks Department using the Conservation Corps members. If we don't get the grant, we'll have to have some discussions, with the city on where we go from here with that program. So, but we've already applied for, the second round of grants, and we're hopeful that we get selected. So,
So, one point. Thank you, Chair. I'm on the Sustainability Commission for a few more days. But anyway, one of the things we're doing is we're going to be working on pulling garlic mustard. Is that the right term? Garlic mustard, anybody know what that is? Anyway, we're going to be helping pull that on a Saturday, I think, the 20th. Anybody wants,
When you're
has
done
nothing
with
to
that-
do, come on out.
when you're done with that, we can find a lot more of it for you if you really
Can
want to
you
do
use,
more.
can you use it in cooking? That's
You
probably,
can- Actually, I think you can. I
You
think it is
can.
edible.
Yep.
So-
somebody said no, but if there's cooking involved, I'm going to check it out.
I would double check that before you decide to do it, but I think I've heard in the past that there.
We actually
that
had,
is
we had an
edible.
event actually with John Dewey one time out at the Weller Sanctuary. We actually took it, they took all the garlic mustard, and then they actually brought it over and made a meal over at the new community shelter.
Are you
So-
really?
I think like a pesto.
Yeah,
something like that.
pesto.
Well, it must be safe.
Buell Gibbons, never know. Anyway,
And then I'll have James just give you an update on some recreation updates and.
okay.
Yeah, so as you know, with the nice weather, we have our sports, school sports leagues and other leagues that are trying to get on the fields, and the fields are looking actually pretty good. So they should be on there within the next, or if they're not already on there, they're going to be on there shortly. Adult league registration, we're still hoping to get a few more teams. We'll start that up at the end of, or the first week of May, actually. And
That's softball?
Yep, softball. And then I did want to point out that we actually are attempting to, so we have the playground program, And we have all the day camps and week camps out at the wildlife sanctuary that we've been running. We started, about 3 years ago, we started offering some new week-long camps, which were really successful. So we tried something new this year where we're trying a spot over at Perkins and then Preble, where we're actually having, hopefully having some summer camps that are, throughout the day. Like, we register for them and actually, so we're kind of seeing how that works right now. The registration is kind of low because we're getting the word out, but we're hoping that, we can start maybe a couple summer camps and try them in different park locations, see how that works. So, and other than that, we have all of our, youth soccer sports programs and everything summer-wise is starting up, so we're really ramping up for summer
Did you want to
events.
mention pickleball
different
too,
things.
while you're at it?
Definitely a lot of conversation around pickleball right now, definitely. It's not slowing down. The momentum is still going in pickleball, so.
Can we talk about where or not? So,
It must be somewhere near him.
yeah, it's not in Colburn. No,
Murphy
it's,
Park, we
Murphy Park.
used ARPA money to pay for new pickleball courts at Murphy Park. So that's been out to bid. I think construction on that will be starting any day now, pretty soon, turning the tennis courts into pickleball courts.
Well, that's good.
So that's really all the updates I had for you. I mean, I'm happy to answer any other questions that you have for me.
When you said camps, I didn't catch what kind of camps? Just summer camps?
Yeah, so we're camps with different themes throughout the different weeks. We'll have different themes and
For
we'll
the
have
kids?
field trips on Thursdays and more of a, I would say just a little bit more like a registration camp where, parents will drop their kids off and they'll be there all day long until the end of the day and then they'll come pick them up, so,
Similar to the YMCA, they do that.
yeah.
Yeah. Like a theme.
Just briefly, if I could, the Lombardi Neighborhood Association just reformed recently, and they brought up maybe turning the Beaumont, half of those courts into pickleball. So
I spoke to them. What we're going to do as a starting point is paint pickleball courts on the existing tennis courts, and they were satisfied.
Perfect. Excellent. Questions? Any other questions? Thank you. All right.
Yeah, just, a few people know it's my last meeting, and I'm just very thankful that I was on this committee for the last couple of years. I think we did some really good work, and, I've been on many committees over 12 years, but I want to say this is the best committee I've ever been on.
See, I told you that.
Yeah, you said it, so I'm going to say it too. That includes INS too, by the way.
Although you didn't start with the whole, I say this to everybody.
Yeah, you don't want to hear the other things I say. But thanks for that.
A few
No,
few
I mean-
naps, keeps napping.
And I'm not going to cry, so.
Been fun, Mark.
It has been, it's
been
been
fun.
an
It's been,
enjoyable experience.
Learned a lot from you, buddy.
Well, our next meeting's May 1st.
You actually have a
I do have a gavel.
gavel.
the gavel.
I actually have a gavel. This was back when I
Motion
used to chair when Guy Zimmer was on the committee. And honestly, it's the only way I can get people to be quiet. So, would you like to adjourn us, sir?
Oh, I would make a motion to receive and place on file.
Okay, receive and
Second.
place on file. Alder Stoyer, second by Alder Campbell. Those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Motion, do I do it?
Sure.
Motion to
Just wait
adjourn.
till we vote.
Do we,
second.
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn by
Oh.
Weary, seconded by
Second.
Kent?
Oh,
Oh, yeah, why don't
go
you-
ahead.
Seconded by Campbell.
No, you can go.
No, okay. Come on,
Another
let's
day
go.
will come.
Seconded by.
You're in charge. You got the
Seconded
gavel.
by
Okay.
Yak. All in favor,
Aye.
say aye.
I. That wasn't very loud.
Thank you.
What do you want me to do?
Just get my hearing back.
You weren't here for parks, were you? Hopefully we didn't just skip right over. You were here just watch, or?
Well, no, they're here for
For
INS.
conservation?
Oh, did you have anything you wanted to comment on, or we should? Okay.
No, we're just watching.
Oh, are you? What did you see? What did you
I
learn?
saw a bunch of tomfoolery.
Don't we have to open